Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host Stan Rattan and this is the Blue Collar Wine Program where I hope to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. And today, this beautiful, beautiful summer day, and it's incredible outside. We've had a nice streak here, not always like that in the Pacific Northwest, but hey, I'm taking it. Great weather. So, I thought I'd kick it off. Do a little series of white wines, starting with the #1 selling varietal in the United States, Chardonnay. Now, a lot of people are surprised by that because there's still a weird group, I shouldn't say weird, there's still a group of people out there that say ABC, anything but Chardonnay, and they think it's cool. They think, oh yeah, they're hip because they don't drink Chardonnay. Well, you know, that's, sorry, but, you know, we sell a ton of Chardonnay at the store this past week. This weekend was beautiful. By far, the #1 selling varietal was Chardonnay. Now, we're going to go Chardonnay, we're going to do Sauvignon Blanc, we're going to do some interesting Italian whites, we're going to do some wines from all over the world. You know, some whites maybe that you normally would not tap into. That's what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks. Well, this weather's great. You know, you might want to start looking at some of these things. Now, we're going to start with a wine that I discovered a couple of years ago, and I don't know how long Smoking Loon has been making this wine, but they do a unoaked Chardonnay. They call it Steelbird. From Smoking Loon, Unoaked Chardonnay, 2012, California. And I'll give you a picture of the label. This rolls in at a stupid $10. And if you haven't tried the Smoking Loon Steelbird, I think you owe it to yourself to do it. Now that's the two things. Chard's made in a couple ways. It's done in neutral oak, perhaps giving it a little fuller flavor, little ML, you hear that term a lot, ML, malolactic fermentation, where they take malolactic acid and turn it into the softer lactic acid through a secondary fermentation. If they don't do that, then you get a much brighter, steelier, sharper version of Chardonnay. Chardonnay is very diverse. These happen to be all from California, but Chablis, not the franziest stuff in the box, that's just Concord grape juice. The real Chablis is Chardonnay. And then Burgundy makes a ton of Chardonnay, and they're very classic, different from, in most cases, California Chard. Washington does a fair amount of Chardonnay. They're different than California Chard also. And different parts of California make different styles of Chardonnay. Chardonnay is very diverse. Just the different flavor profiles that you get from Chardonnay. Let's start with this Smoking Loon Steelbird Unoaked Chardonnay 2012. So I get a little bit of pear and apple, which is very common with Chardonnay. Get a little bit of lemon out of it. It's not super aromatic, but you definitely get those pears and apples and lemon. Let's see what we get on the palate. There's a little dusty component there. Sorry. Very clean. Get this like steely, like you licked on a piece of stainless steel. That steely component, thus the name Steelbird, I'm sure. But you still get that roundness of the Chardonnay, that, you know, you get those like a Bartlett pear thing going on, a little bit of apple. There's a tiny hit of lemon on that. Nice finish, I get a little bit of a fig component on the back end. I'm thinking they obviously did a little malolactic fermentation on this to soften the acids in the wine, but yet it still has that nice steely edge. And you know, this would be beautiful with lobster, with crab. I would have it with oysters. It's just steely enough to do that. So it would be good with chicken, roasted chicken, grilled chicken. There's just so many things you could have this with. But it also is just a beautiful wine if you're out on the having a picnic, you're out on the deck, you're out in the yard, you're barbecuing, you might want to have a glass of this. I just think it's a delicious Chardonnay. No oak at all, just the Chardonnay juice. You know, for $10, what a stupid good price for, you know, just a nice refreshing Chard that you want to enjoy. I'm going to go B on that. I think it's an excellent example of what a Chard can be, even at that lower price range, where a lot of people get like suspect. I wonder how good it's going to be. Excellent job. B. Now let's move on to the next one. Roundhill Chardonnay, California vintage. This rolls in at $7.50. Committed to sustainability, 2012. So here you go. Another really stupid price. I have never had the Roundhill, so we'll see how it fares. But, you know, committed to sustainability, that's the new calling card for a lot of wineries, where they try and maintain, you know, water, electricity. You know, sometimes they produce their own electricity. There's a lot of things they do. They try to use lighter glass, you know, recycle quite a bit. They like to use, well, in this particular case, they use cork, not screw cap, the smoking Loon with screw cap. Let's see what we get on the nose. So this goes for the, there's oak on this one. Not a lot, $7.50. You know there's not new oak, but it has that nice buttery, a lot of people are looking for that real buttery, rounder nose. Kind of like pears and butter. A little bit of butterscotch action, a little bit of toffee. This almost has kind of that, I hate to say it, but there's, you know, sometimes with some of the more inexpensive Chardonnays, you get this little bit of a, I hate to say it, like a fakey flavor. I don't know. A little bit of baking spice going on. It's not bad. Let's see what we get on the palate. Buttery, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of pear, a little bit of fig, toffee, still all there. A little bit of that butterscotch action. It actually finishes kind of clean, which is interesting. It's cleaner than I would have thought on the nose. Has a little bit of like pear skin on the back end. It actually finishes pretty clean. You know, it's not my style of Chardonnay. But if you like, you know, if you were having crab and you didn't want to spend you just spent a bunch of money on some lobster or crab, and you didn't want to spend a bunch of money on the wine, you wanted something to go with it, maybe, you know, something that would match up. You know, you might like this one. This is a good wedding Chardonnay where you're having a whole bunch of people over and you don't want to spend a boatload of money. Somebody told me I said boatload a lot. Anyway, you don't want to spend a boatload of money on the wine. But I think a lot of people will like this. Like I said, it isn't fakey, it isn't funky. It's got a clean finish. Nice round buttery notes. I'm going to go C plus B minus on that. It's good Chardonnay, above average. Not a B wine, but yeah, above average. Easily. $7.50. Are you kidding me? Now, if you're in a store like mine that I work at, you get 10% off of that, so you get another 75 cents. You're into the $6 bracket for a bottle of Chardonnay. Not bad. Not bad. C plus, B minus. Let's move on. So, you know, I don't know if there's a better wine with crab than Chardonnay. I remember one of the most classic events I ever went to. I went to, a friend of mine invited me to his house. He had a big old crab feed. You know, the whole thing, the paper on a long picnic table, all these people around were cracking crab. He had Gunlock Boonshoe Chardonnay out on the table. Excuse me. And man, does that stick in my mind. There was just nothing better than crab, butter, Chardonnay. They are made for each other. It's a match made in heaven, baby. The only other wine I really like equally to that is Roussanne and crab or lobster. Excellent. But the thing about Chardonnay is it's so diverse with food. There's a lot of different foods you can have with it. So let's move on to this next one. This is $15. It's Napa Cellars, Napa Valley Chardonnay, 2012. Take a look at the label. There you go. Let's see what we get on the nose. A little more subdued on the nose than the last one. It's not in your face. Really soft pear notes. I get a little bit of just a slight, like that fresh bread dough smell. Definitely pears and spice. You know, just a hint of like that buttery popcorn thing, but not a lot. I'm not getting a lot out of this one. And this one, you know, isn't super, super dark. I mean, there's obviously oak on it. And I can smell the oak on the nose for sure, but let's see what we get on the palate. Very, very smooth Chardonnay. I mean, it has oak, but it's not like a lumberyard. It's very, very well integrated into the wine. You get a nice, like, polished pear, a little bit of pineapple on the back side. There's some apple notes in there. Get just a hint of butter. Spices, like baking spices, are there. There's nothing that really stands out as a particular spice. But these spice, almost like a white pepper element, is lingering. $15. This is like a Cadillac Chardonnay, you know, like if you're cruising down the freeway in like a Lincoln Town Car and a Cadillac, and it's just like so smooth. You hit a bump, you barely feel it. This has no bumps in it. It's just smooth, delicious, easy to drink. It has some character to it. It's not super exciting. Just like I don't think a Cadillac is super exciting. It's not like driving in a Ferrari or a BMW. But it's still tasty. Yeah, I can see the La Crema boys, you know, falling back on this one. La Crema has actually gotten kind of spendy. And I remember selling La Crema for around $18 bucks. Now it's up around $22. $15, this is a good play. It has enough oak, I think, to satisfy those people that need that oakiness, but it's not overpowering. Very polished, very smooth. A lot of delicious, that spiciness is from the oak is coming through in spades. Little pineapple edge a little butter, you know, a little this, a little that, but never going over the top on any of them. I'm going to go B+ on that one. I think it's a great Chardonnay for the price. On to the next one. Michael David Winery. For those, a lot of you folks know this winery. They do the Earthquake Zin. They do the Petite, that bottle with the circus, like the elephants on the front. It's really jazzy. Michael David Winery, they do some pretty incredible stuff. They do 6 Cent Syrah, Earthquake, Windmill. Their portfolio is fairly big. The Chard that I remember from them was called 7. They have 7 Deadly Zins. You familiar with that one? Well, they had 7 Heavenly Chards, and it was a goofball label. It had a clouds and a halo, and just this real foo-foo-y label. Now they've changed that. They've revamped the whole package. Michael David Winery, Chardonnay, Lodi, California. And here's the label. Much more conservative. Definitely. Actually, the Michael of Michael David came into my store about a month and a half ago. I got to introduce to him. He told me about this Chardonnay, that they revamped the package. Very, very, very nice guy. Let's see what we get on the nose. Oh, God. This is so funny. I remember, I might have tried this, so maybe I forgot, but this has bacon. I mean, like bacon. Like you just fried up a bunch of bacon. It's crazy. It's like bacon and pears and pineapple. Like this, you whipped them up all together in this little casserole. Definitely oak. I'm sure that the oak has given it that bacon flavor. It must be the way they toast the oak. Butter is coming through. Now, it's funny that it's sitting in the glass. The bacon is it's still subtly there, but it's not quite as big. That's an interesting bouquet to get on your Chardonnay, to get this blast of bacon. Now it smells a little bit more like you would expect a Chardonnay. Apples, pears, butter, pineapple. Still though, underlying bacon notes. I remember talking to a rep for this winery a couple of years ago, and we were talking about that when I smelled it then. And he was just saying it was very specific to the vineyard. Let's see what we get on the palate. Right up front, I mean, this is like fruit forward. I get a real sweetness right in the front of the palate. So like sweet, like pineapple with a little sugar on it. Pears, apples, definitely. Some white flower notes. But right in the mid palate, it's weird that the lumber starts coming in. The oak really kind of intrudes on this real pleasant start, and then just gets a little bit awkward. And then it gets this like, it goes from this sweet fruit, then it gets like this, the wood really hits heavy in the mid palate, goes into the finish, and then it gets a little bit like tart on the back end, and then you got like all these like spicy kind of oak spice flavors that come through on the backside. Yeah, it's too bad because right up front, I think there's a lot of people who like this Chard. I think the finish would throw them off a little bit. It gets like real woody, like somebody soaked, squirted pineapple juice, maybe a little bit of pear juice on a piece of board, and you just chewed on the board. Almost like a bitterness to the backside. Okay, so this is 2012, a couple years old. You know, I'm going to call it like it is. I think it's a little bit awkward, just a little bit awkward. I think, you know, maybe with food might be a better play, but I can think of, you know, a number of Chardonnays, Napa Cellars for one, that would, you know, bury this one as far as the overall smoothness of the palate. The, yeah. Just too heavy on the oak on the backside. The fruit doesn't integrate with the oak on the back end. You know, I'm going to go CC minus on this one for $16. I have to go there because just because of that awkward fruit. I'm going to go C. It's average. I think there's a lot of Chardonnays out there. You know, $16 isn't a huge investment. If you like wood, you're going to like this one because it has it in boatloads on the backside. So I'm going to go C. For me, it's a C minus, C minus. I just wouldn't spend my money on it. There you go. I'm going to pour a little bit more of the Napa Cellars to give you cheers. Thanks for watching. If you have any tips, anything you'd like to see me do, I know I'm going to start working on some blind events. I got a good interview coming up next week with Chris Sparkman of Sparkman Cellars. Really looking forward to that. The guy's a character, head of the Washington Wine Commission. So I look forward to that. I hope you're having a great summer so far. Well, it isn't summer yet, is it? That's not until mid-June. It just feels like summer. I want it to be now. I want summer to be now. Cheers. Thanks for watching. And here's to keeping the snob out of wine.